Andriy Yermak, the office head, has resigned.
The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, made a choice after pressure from allies and took a desperate step. He dismissed his friend Andriy Yermak from the position of head of the president's office. And now, among European diplomats, there are rumors that the political crisis and corruption scandal have allowed Ukraine's allies to force Volodymyr Zelensky to make a choice. It was either him or Andriy Yermak, and Zelensky chose himself. But it's possible that Yermak will remain the shadow leader. Right now, many people are discussing how quickly Volodymyr Zelensky signed Andriy Yermak's resignation letter, but many have forgotten how it was done. In this episode, I'll remind you about that. To put it briefly, on the morning of November 28, it became known that detectives from the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and prosecutors from the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office came to Andriy Yermak's home with a search warrant. Yermak and his lawyer said they were cooperating with the investigation and everything was fine. As a result, after the searches, no one was officially charged. But by the evening, Yermak submits his resignation letter, and Volodymyr Zelensky urgently accepts it, without even appointing an acting head of the president's office, which is very strange. There's something to think about here. After all, as it became known already this weekend, that is, on the same day, Andriy Yermak was supposed to fly to the United States of America for negotiations with Steve Witkoff, before the latter would fly to Moscow for talks with Vladimir Putin. And then suddenly Yermak just gets fired, and now the Europeans are already demanding explanations from Kyiv. What was that about? Kyiv is still keeping silent for now. My name is Pechiy. Let's discuss this topic together. Before we start, please subscribe to this channel, like, and leave a detailed comment. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechiy News. The link is in this video's description, where we post breaking news as it happens. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so financially with any donation or a paid sponsorship subscription using the links and details in the description of this video. I would be grateful for any support you can give, so like a bolt from the blue, on the evening of November 28, Volodymyr Zelensky, in his traditional evening address, announces that the head of the office of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak, is resigning.
The office of the President of Ukraine will be rebooted and head Andriy Yermak has resigned. I'm grateful to Andriy for always representing Ukraine's position in negotiations exactly as needed. It has always been a patriotic position, but I want there to be no feelings or speculation.
A few minutes later, a decree appears on the website of the President of Ukraine in which Zelensky dismisses Yermak. All this occurs in just minutes. But the question remains, what exactly happened? And here we need to rewind time just a few hours back. On the morning of November 28, news appeared that the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office had come with searches to the head of the office of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak. A sensational piece of news. The head of the office of the president says investigations are happening at his home and his lawyers are fully cooperating with law enforcement. News of the searches at the head of the office of the president's residence first emerged through media reports and statements from parliament members. Journalists from Ukrainska Pravda reported that National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office searched Andriy Yermak's residence in the government quarter on November 28. They managed to film about 10 employees of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office entering the government quarter. Later, several members of parliament made the same statement. And later, the anti-corruption agencies confirmed the searches at Yermak's place. Quote, National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office are conducting investigative actions at the head of the office of the President of Ukraine. The investigative actions are authorized and are being carried out as part of an investigation. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine detectives promised to provide details of the case later, although now it's not certain that they will fully disclose them because Yermak has already been dismissed. The head of the office of the president himself stated that searches are indeed being conducted at his place. But he wrote that it's not at the government quarter but at his own home. Quote from Yermak, Today, National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office are indeed carrying out procedural actions at my home. The investigators have no obstacles. They were given full access to the apartment, my lawyers are present, and we are cooperating with law enforcement. I am providing full assistance on my part. And now sources in anti-corruption agencies report that the searches at Andrei Yermak's place are probably related to the MIDOS case, the very same case involving Mindych. Later, the reputable Financial Times journalist Christopher Miller wrote the following on the social network X, quote, "My sources report that the searches at the Kyiv home of Andrei Yermak, the head of President Zelensky's office, are connected to the MIDOS investigation. A large-scale investigation into a probable corruption offense in Ukraine's energy sector." National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, in its own statement, confirms that anti-corruption investigators are currently searching the premises. Let me also remind you that in November 2025, National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine announced Operation MIDOS to uncover large-scale corruption in the energy sector. Detectives searched the home of Kvartal 95 co-owner Timur Mindych, who is said to be a close associate of President Volodymyr Zelensky. The businessman himself fled abroad just a couple of hours before the searches. Authorities also searched former Minister Herman Halushchenko's home and Energoatom company. The investigation claims that the organization received kickbacks of 10-15% from contracts and laundered this money through a Kyiv office connected to the family of Russian Federation Senator Andrei Darkotin. In light of the case, Minister Halushchenko and Energy Ministry head Svitlana Hrinchak were dismissed. Several scheme participants were notified of suspicion and given preventive measures. Among them is former Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Chernyshov, identified on the tapes as Che Guevara. The day before, it also became known that National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine detectives questioned the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, Rustem Umerov, amid information that he might have been influenced by that very same Timur Minchuk, an old friend of Zelensky, and of recently, among representatives of the Ukrainian political establishment, there have been reports about the possible resignation of Yermak, precisely against the backdrop of the high-profile MIDOS corruption case. The point is that these recordings allegedly feature a person nicknamed Alibaba who gives instructions to law enforcement agencies regarding attacks on the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office and the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. Rumors suggest this could be Andrei Yermak himself. This episode shows how, in the summer, the President's office, via the Security Service of Ukraine, tried to restrict National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office's work. It was specifically Andrei Yermak's representatives who assured all of us that Russian agents had been found in National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. And these Russian agents are the ones they exposed. That's why National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine needs to be shut down completely, because it's full of Russian agents. But where did these Russian agents end up? So, the Ukrainian people defended National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine's independence, but they never showed us those Russian agents. And now, people are speculating. No one's confirming it, but they're speculating that this Alibaba on those recordings is supposedly Andrei Yermak. National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine Director Semen Krivonos neither confirmed nor denied Yermak's involvement in the corruption scheme. Here's the quote: "I can't confirm or deny, because we don't confirm or deny such things." But this is where strange coincidences start to appear. On November 28 morning, searches took place at Andrei Yermak's house. During the day, no suspicions were announced to anyone, and by the evening of the same day, Yermak was suddenly fired like this. This seems desperate, and I'll explain why. The thing is, the publication Axios, citing sources in the White House, stated that the now former head of the president's office, Andrei Yermak, must. He was supposed to fly to Miami this weekend to discuss some details of the American peace plan with the United States President's special envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Moreover, Yermak's flight to the United States was supposed to take place on the very day, or rather the very evening, when Zelensky dismissed him. Just last weekend, it was Andrei Yermak who was negotiating with United States representatives in Geneva, which made it possible to make changes to the 28-point peace plan. Therefore, it was planned that Yermak would fly to the United States this weekend to negotiate the details of the peace plan. But the resignation appears to have ruined these plans. Although it is known that at the beginning of next week, Steve Witkoff and Kushner will go to the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Therefore, Yermak had to coordinate positions with the Americans before they fly to Moscow to present this peace plan to Putin. But Zelensky suddenly fires Yermak and now claims that American officials will come to Ukraine themselves for negotiations. He says no one needs to fly to Miami anymore, but European and American officials now suggest Zelensky was clearly informed. Either he conducts a real fight against corruption no matter who it concerns, or Ukraine will simply never join the European Union. But even more frightening things for Volodymyr Zelensky have been said. Rumors are currently circulating in the corridors of European institutions. I'll leave it at that for now. There are rumors that in the West, Zelensky was clearly told it's either him or Yermak, and Zelensky chose himself, but he still sacrificed Yermak. Although it's possible that Andriy Yermak will remain the head of the office of the President of Ukraine. He'll just be a shadow puppeteer now. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's it for now. Take care. Goodbye all.